Hello and welcome to Transport Line, the program that makes the difference. Coming to you live from the mega city of Lagos, state of aquatic splendor and the fifth largest economy in Africa. We shall be bringing you the concluding part of the scorecard of performance of government agencies in the maritime sector in terms of service delivery in the last 3 years. In part 1 of the episode, we had a dialogue on 2 of the government agencies in the maritime sector, that is, the Nigerian Ports Authority and the Nigerian Customs Service. In the studio with me today to look at the other 2 government agencies in the sectors, which are the Nigerian Shippers Council and NIMASA. Of course, you will remember that NIMASA is considered as the golden Jews in the maritime sector. So in the studio with me is the stakeholder and a consultant in the maritime sector who had a dialogue with us in part 1. He is here again to conclude the episode. And please allow me to welcome Charles Okorife.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Good evening, viewers.
Thank you very much. Now, where do we start from? Can we start from the Shippers Council, okay?
Yeah,
Now,
wherever.
how do you assess the performance of the agency in its core mandate in the last 3 years in terms of service delivery?
Thank you very much. The Nigerian Shippers Council, if you ask me, is one of the agencies of government in the maritime sector that has performed optimally. And I choose my word very carefully because I've taken time to observe their the way they've been operating in the industry, even going beyond the 3 years you mentioned. But because of the purview of what we are looking at, 3 years,
Okay.
that is a span of this current administration.
Yeah.
Yes. If you take a holistic view of what the Shippers Council is doing and has been doing, I think we give them a lot of credit. Don't forget that it's not for nothing that the federal government appointed the Shippers Council as the economic regulator of the ports.
Yeah.
I think it is based on what they have seen as their performance. Okay?
Yeah.
And the Shippers Council also has, maintained a measure of consistency. Just last week, there is this annual conference they hold for judges.
You okay?
Yes, and they held it in Abuja. And that is an enlightenment program.
Admiralty.
Which I think is very key because the maritime industry is such an industry that is like an enclave, which most people do not know about, talk less of judges. So they ought to know because a lot of cases do arise. If you now bring a case to a judge who does not know anything about the admiralty jurisdiction, how would they give judgment? So I think it is a wonderful thing they are doing in that respect. Then you also have to look at their pursuit of the inland container depot thing, with all seriousness. And I think they are getting there.
Okay.
You remember that in January, the president, or thereabout, commissioned the Kaduna Inland Container Depot. Even though the functionality is another issue entirely, because I always mention the issue of railway.
Yeah, linking it to railway.
Yeah. So all in all, I think the current executive secretary, Mr. Hassan Bello,
Okay.
is on top of his game, and I give it to them.
Now, you just talked about the seminar held recently,
Yes.
which as part of the general consensus of the participants in that seminar, that there should be, they are asking for speedy acceleration of cases involving admiralty cases,
Sure.
just as in terrorism and corruption.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this? And take it along with it. Now, this kind of seminar, I understand, has been holding, NSC has been, that is, the Shippers Council has been organizing it for the past 15 years. What effects has it had on delivery of service?
Yeah, I just mentioned that, it's an enlightenment program for judges, and it trickles down, you know, across the judiciary, especially in the Lagos area, where you have a lot of litigations, you know, about things happening around the ports and stuff like that. So I think they have benefited, the judiciary has benefited a lot from this consistent seminar which the NSC has been holding.
Okay.
What's the other?
Has it actually helped in terms of service delivery of
For the Nigerian Shippers Council.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't forget that the Nigerian Shippers Council is like any other government parastatal in Nigeria.
Okay.
Even though I'm one person that question the propriety of the Nigerian Shippers Council being a parastatal of the government.
Okay.
It is a paradox because the Shippers Council is supposed to be a body that caters for the interest of shippers, importers and exporters, to use the layman's language. Now, how can you now be fighting people who you are supposed to be protecting? Do you get it?
Very well.
Yeah, so, but that notwithstanding, I think they have given a good account of themselves over time.
Now,
Yeah.
the second part of the thing is that what's your view on this call for speedy acceleration of cases involving Admiralty matters?
You cannot, I mean, it is a no-brainer because in the maritime industry, one of the most essential commodity is time. If a vessel is detained, for instance, for a day, there are certain categories of vessel. If you detain them for a day, the demurrage they pay on that vessel is up to $20,000 per day. So now think of a case, a typical case, as it used to happen in Nigeria, dragging for months and years. I mean, the owner of that vessel will as well abandon it.
And
So
get out
it
of
stands to
business.
reason that they cannot but speed up whatever issues that come. Even talk about containers in the ports. When it has entered the second and third periods, you know, the demurrage increases. For a 20-feet container, you are talking about 6,000 naira per day. So if there is an issue involving such a container and it has to drag for months, what is the benefit to the importer? So it's not something that can be debated whether you need speedy admiralty trials or not. It has to be. And that is why I give Nigerian Shippers Council kudos for this consistency in educating the judges
I think I agree
in
with
that area.
I think I agree with you completely. That is very much in order. But do you see the Nigerian Shippers Council has been able to cope when it eventually transforms into National Transport Commission?
Well, that question is a very big one because when you are talking of a commission, it's a different thing entirely from the role they are playing now. Okay? And I think what has to be done is that professionals who know about the integrity of the industry have to be co-opted into that body, not just Shippers Council as it is. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. They might have people who are knowledgeable in the industry, but it takes more than that. You are talking of a commission, a National Transport Commission that has to do, is like talking about a National Communication Commission that handles communication. So it's something that involves a lot of technicality. And I think Shippers Council, for them to transform, a lot of things have to go underground by way of co-opting core professionals, you know, to beef up what they have at the moment.
Okay. Now, before maybe we will come back to the Nigerian Shippers Council, but for now, let us go to NIMASA. You see, NIMASA has given itself a mid-term plan for restructuring and, you know, repositioning in the maritime sector. Now, and it has erected for itself a 5-pillar agenda, so to speak. So let's now look at what it has set for itself as, you know, this plan. It has a timeline of between 2016 and 2019. So one by one, if time permits, we shall look at, you know, these areas. Now, pillar 1 is environment, security, emergency Search and Rescue Transformation Initiative. The question is, how has it fared in this regard?
Even the title of the transformation is jailbreaking.
Environment security,
Yes.
environment one, security,
Yes.
emergency,
The
search
emergency
and
search and
rescue
rescue.
transformation initiative.
Yeah, I think my major interest in this particular agenda is security.
Okay?
Yes. Is it because when your waters are not secured, every other thing you are doing is
Comes
nonsense.
to naught.
The question we want to ask is, how secured is the Nigerian waterways? It's a major question because in the recent past, we've had, in fact, Nigeria was even branded as one of the most terrorist-prone areas. Talking about piracy now
Yeah.
in our in West and Central Africa, if not the whole of Africa, where you remove maybe places like Somalia, okay, and the Gulf of Aden between Somalia and Yemen, which were considered the most dangerous areas. The coastal areas in Nigeria were also regarded as, there was a time that piracy and attacks was the order of the day. You know, but to a very large extent, that has been minimized. I don't know if Nimasa wants to take credit for that or not.
Who should?
I don't know. Don't forget that the
Whose
Niger
responsibility
Delta,
is it?
the Niger Delta militants have calmed down a great deal. And their activities accounted for much of what considered security breach at that time. Okay? And talk about search and rescue. I think Nimasa has not done badly in terms of a provision of requisite vessels for search and rescue. As a matter of fact, in the year 2001, I was involved in the handling of some of their search and rescue vessels that they use today. Okay? And I think they have also added more and had more personnel who are, recruited to man such vessels for search and rescue purposes. And they have done well also in that regard.
Okay.
You know. Then you talked about environment.
Environment.
I don't know what they mean by environment. What I know is we have the Nigerian coastal and inland waters. If that's the environment they mean, how effective and efficient have they performed in trying to keep these places safe? Our EEZ, what have they done? That is a major question indeed. I want to believe that they could be, what they have written down is a plan.
Yeah, it's a plan.
So
it's a plan between
2016 and 2019.
Yeah.
It still remains to be seen
Okay.
how far they can go in achieving all of that objective.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry. Actually, that is Pillar 2. What we have just talked about is
Okay.
Pillar 2. The Pillar 1 actually is Survey, Inspection and Certification Transformation Program.
Yes.
So, how has it delivered it?
Well, we have the registrar of ships at Nimasa, which is supposed to be handling the cabotage vessels in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes, and I think to a large extent, they have done well. Okay, but more can still be done because that cabotage, as it were, still has a lot of question marks surrounding it. You know, but in terms of inspection, vessels, certification, I think they have not done badly. But like we always say, there is always room for improvement.
For improvement. But then this cabotage you have just mentioned now,
Yes.
I think cabotage is about 15 years old or something like that. Since
2003.
and 3
Yeah.
till date, I think that's
About
about
15 years.
yeah, about 15 years.
Definitely.
As cabotage, will you say shippers have benefited from the Cabotage Act?
Capital no. It's a capital no. The reason being that the I think Part 8 of the Cabotage Act, which is Cabotage Vessels Financing Funds,
CVFF.
CVFF, has not been delivered up to date, meaning that we cannot point out to beneficiaries of that fund, talking about local operators now, for whom that fund was meant. I think recently there was a controversy between the Minister of Transport and NIMASA as to how much is in the cabotage funds, whether it is $100 million or $100 billion. There does need to be a consensus.
Don't you have records?
Well, I don't know. They should have the records. But what I'm saying in effect is that cabotage vessel financing fund is supposed to benefit local operators who are supposed to use the funds, which is meant to be a revolving funds, to purchase newer vessels, because our operators have had this problem of their vessels being rejected, especially by the oil and the oil services companies, because of old age, unseaworthiness. So CVFF was meant to come to the rescue, capacity building, if you like. Apart from even empowering ship owners, how about the development of ship building and ship repair yards? How about empowering operators of foundries from which vessel parts can be developed, can be built, like what obtains in a place like South Korea? If you go to South Korea, you have small foundries that develop these vessel parts and sell to the major shipyards.
Okay.
That is lacking in Nigeria. So cabotage has not even started.
So as regards cabotage, NIMASA has a very low
They have
score.
not done anything.
Okay. Now let's go to Pillar 3 now. Pillar 3 is digital and strategy reforms. Now the question is, what's your assessment of the agency in this regard?
Well, like I've always said, it's not enough to give big names to this thing. What do they mean by digital and what was the other name? Strategic reforms. Any agency that is what is sought ought to engage with what we call strategic planning. Okay? Yes. So that is a given. Digital. What is digital? The world has gone digital. So if you are talking about making digitalization of to achieve what purpose? I remember during the last regime of the last DG, they had this wonderful like a war room where they monitor activities of vessels in offshore areas in Nigeria. I don't know whether they are trying to build on that, to improve on it, because that is one major area where NIMASA, I think, gave a good account of in the last regime.
They said digital strategy.
Yes.
Reforms.
Well, so when it's reform, that means they are trying to build on what.
Exactly. They are improving.
So in that case, there is nothing wrong with that. So I'm not too sure of how far they have gone, but it is a good, a right step in the right direction.
You should have the confidence that they are capable of
I hope so.
Making improvements.
I hope so.
So we quickly go to Pillar 4, which is capacity building and promotional initiative. Is it on course?
Well, capacity building. When you talk of capacity building, as far as the industry is concerned, I just talked about improvement of our capacity in terms of provision of newer vessels for our operators. It's a capacity building step. How far have they gone? I don't think they've gone far. The other issue in the area of capacity building has to do with the training of seafarers. If you also recall, in the last dispensation of Mr. Patrick Akpobolo came here as DG, they had this initiative to train seafarers in different parts of the world. Philippines, the UK. As a matter of fact, in 2014, I was in a delegation with the NIMASA to Liverpool. There's this university called Liverpool John Moores University. We went there for facility visit. And we met some of the trainees, these seafarers there, the NSDP program then. But what came out of it of recent without hearing stories of scandals here and there. You know, so the question is, how effective was that program? Has it delivered? Where are the training vessels for the seafarers, Nigeria seafarers? There are no training vessels. Even the Maritime Academy, Oron, does not have a training vessel. And every seafarer needs a minimum of 6 months sea time. That was one of the major complaints those students were giving us in Liverpool, because they had to wait for the vessel of other nationalities like India, where there is vacancy, they will now slot them in, which is a shame. So when you are talking of capacity building, these are the things that you put into focus. Oron ought to have a training vessel. I know they had what they call MV Trainer, an old vessel that Nigeria sold and they bought back. Today, MV Trainer is lost. So when you talk of capacity, they have to put everything holistically and let Nigerians see what they are doing in the industry.
Thank you very much. And now let's look at the last pillar now, which they have set for themselves now. This is structural and cultural reforms initiative. Okay. What is the scorecard so far on this?
Structural.
Yeah.
Well, NIMASA is not supposed to be. It's not MPA that does commercial stuff. Do you get it? They are supposed to be a regulatory body, maritime administration and safety agency. That is their name. But of recent, I learned they acquired a floating dock. I don't know what they want to do with that. That is a structural development in any case. You know, so I don't know what NIMASA wants to do with a floating dock. It's not in their mandate. If it is MPA, yes, I know that they will use this already for ship repairs and maintenance purpose. It does not fall within the mandate of NIMASA. Then you are talking of cultural what?
Reforms.
Cultural reforms. I don't know what they mean by cultural reforms. When you talk of culture, we have a Ministry of Culture. The maritime industry deals with cargo. So what are they reforming in cargo offerings? I don't know, except they are talking about creating better environment or relationships with foreigners that visit our ports, which also does not fall within the purview of NIMASA. So I don't know what they mean by that. Actually,
maybe they were talking about creating a culture of, service delivery, in a way, but time is not...
Well, cultural. Yes, I look at the word cultural. There could have been a better way they put it, if that is what they mean.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, thank you very much, Charles Okurefi, for coming onto the program again. We appreciate you, and I want to tell you again, we appreciate you always.
Thank you very much.
That wraps up the program today. Let's do it together next time. Before then, please stay out of trouble and strive towards a greater Nigeria. It shall be well with our country, Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. Have a wonderful time. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.